5 times a day, people are called to prayer where the majority population is strongly influenced by the Islamic religion and culture. Are you being called to explore all that it has to offer for your journey within and your journey without? You will struggle with many of your preconceived ideas about life and faith, and you may end up with more questions than answers.
There are lots of reasons to consider spending a year in this region. Learning language, there's also people from this region all over the world, and so wherever you go, you will run into them and you'll be able to understand where they're coming from with their culture and their religion, and so that people can learn more about the believers here too, because the church looks different, and to hear about the persecuted church is one thing, but to actually get to know people that are living that reality and their grandparents lived that reality and their kids will still live that reality, different perspective than just hearing about it and praying for them from your own country.
You will have opportunities to serve in the hard places of life, places where you may have to look for the beauty, places where you may have to struggle with the why. What is the face of justice? How do people live on the margins? What is poverty? You will be invited to journey with others and struggle with various themes of the region.
Being in the hard places with someone is both a privilege and a challenge. For me, it's a privilege when someone trusts me with their pain. It means that I have the opportunity to walk alongside them. And for me, that's a real gift, because it's not often that someone will invite you into the deepest parts of their heart. The challenge comes in the sharing of the pain, in accepting the loss that the hard places bring, and in trusting God with that loss, that somehow He will take it and He will redeem it and He will bring something beautiful out of it. Jesus does that for us, and I think that's part of our calling, is to do that for each other.
How does Islam influence life? How do people's faith affect choices and behaviors? How does one engage with people of various religions? You will be invited to a life of discipleship and spiritual formation. What does it look like to live a life of total devotion to God? How is that similar or different for others? You will be invited into a community of people who are journeying with you. It will include a community from the West and a local community with a common purpose and journey. What do relationships look like across language and cultural barriers? What attitudes and actions break down those barriers? What attitudes and actions build more walls? What relationships am I willing to form?
Coming to the Middle East for a year is an excellent chance to experience the Muslim world in its origin, to see a culture that has a different basis than ours, to engage with the church, an area in which the church is a minority, to learn about yourself and your own strengths and weaknesses. It's a chance to seek God in a new place. And I think it's really worth the experience to get out and do so.
You will be invited to learn about the history of this region, the history of the church, the history of Islam, the history in which Scripture has written, the development of His story in these places. What impact has this region had on other parts of the world? What will you learn about the Bible? What will you learn about the character of God? You are invited.